No way to bring in the new year better than a little Fever Tree sparkling pink grapefruit juice. With you guys here, college basketball, Mike Randle, Chief Content Officer on X at Randle Rant. We continue to roll on here. We have a big slate today. We're back. It is now the new year, which means once we get through the season, once we get through this week, NFL season, then goes to the playoffs. College basketball goes front and center. We saw massive games last night, great matchups. Colorado State just putting a hammer down on New Mexico. Some big games across the board, and we have a huge slate today. So as always, jump in the comments. We're going to start rolling here. We're coming to you today. We are coming to you tomorrow, and we are coming to you on Saturday. Of course, the 10:30 show, which had a record number of viewers last week. We're going to keep it rolling here as always. Thank you so much. Ton of games to get to here. We're going to jump in right now. The comments are flying. What I love to see here. What a slate, Trevor. Yes, of course, you know it is. St. Bonnie's, VCU, top 5 games going to be tremendous here. Anytime Mark Schmidt's involved, you know it is great. Michael in the house, knowing that the slate is on fire here. Michael's watching in a Zoom meeting, also fantastic. Al, great to have you back. We're ready to roll here. And Colby, where could we be without Colby, guys? Let's go. Let's get into it. Going to rock and roll. A lot of games. Let's get right to it. Momentum play here. I liked UNC Asheville. I told you that all year, and they started off slow and they struggled, but things have gotten better lately, and they have played a heck of a lot better, which is why I like them today, UNC Asheville. If you look over their last couple games, they've actually played very well, and I've been impressed by what they've done. UNC Asheville is a team that last year was really, really strong, especially at the beginning of the season. But then, and the end, they came in really well and finished up winning the conference in the Big South. Now, this year, they're coming off a low start. Michigan, they got destroyed. Beginning of the season was bad. After that 3-game stretch where they lost to Kennesaw State in overtime, Western Carolina, Auburn, what did they do? They beat South Carolina State at home, fine. Appalachian State on the road, I think, got them right. That's a 13-point win on the road. They bounced back and beat Kennesaw State to avenge the early loss. And then they played UAB. They did cover in that game. So they have 4 straight covers here for us. UAB by 5. I think they roll here against USC Upstate. If you look at the team at totality, people are going to be on USC Upstate. But if you look at recency and the way they've played recently, Asheville kicking off Big South Conference here under Mike Morrell, I think they get the job done. I think this is a comfortable win. The line opened at 8. It is up to 10.5. Listen, I celebrated hard on New Year's Eve because I finally got a Duquesne pick right. So we're going to try to make it 2 in a row after a year and a half of catastrophic picks on Duquesne. We're going back here with UMass at home against Duquesne. I think they're the better team. I don't trust them on the road, Duquesne. UMass took care of business against Siena, who hung around. They were sloppy in that matchup, but it may have been a look-ahead spot here to the A-10 conference. This is a Frank Martin team that has accepted his identity. They are top 35 in defensive turnovers. They're great at defending inside the arc. They've had some bad luck with teams making free throws against them, shooting 73%, and Duquesne is a box of chocolates. We never know what we're going to get with Duquesne. They are brutal against the three-pointer. I think UMass can get hot at home and hit some shots. Yes, it's Keith Dambro. Yes, it's tough for me to figure this team out, but we are laying the 1.5 with UMass at home. I believe the game against Siena was a sleepy spot. I think we get a strong effort today in the opener here in the A-10, just like we got from Colorado State on a lower level. I think UMass bounces back here. They can score. The pace is high, and I don't trust this Duquesne team, which sometimes can get a little sloppy with the ball and take very rush shots. And Duquesne also not shooting well from the free throw line. I've been on Western Kentucky all year long. The trio of guards that they have are just big time. They can score it, and they are aggressive. They are 11-2 overall. Western Kentucky beat Asheville at home. They won away at Vanderbilt on a last-second shot. They are great on the defensive boards. They're great at defending inside the arc. And they have some big-time players. Montarius Woolbright, if you have not seen him, is one of the most explosive players in all of college basketball. You have Trey Jackson. You have DJ Campbell. So many players. I don't like the Citadel here. It's a very low line. This game could be back and forth because it is the start of the SoCon for Western Carolina and the start of the SoCon here for Citadel. But Citadel, to me, not great here. Not great on forcing turnovers. They will let Western Carolina get comfortable on offense. Western Carolina has an explosive offense, and this number is not big enough. So we are laying it here with Western Carolina, one of my favorite teams in the SoCon, the Catamounts. Take a look at what Army has done lately, folks. Army is getting better. If you just look at Army at the beginning of the year, they looked catastrophically bad. But I put on X Please make a note that they are not as bad anymore. They are the worst free throw shooting team in all of college basketball. However, they played away at Harvard, kept that game close, covered. Stony Brook at home, that was a close game. They battled, and they actually covered in that game as well, went to overtime. San Antonio, Texas San Antonio, they won away by 10. And the most impressive player here is freshman Josh Scovins. Josh Scovins has scored 31, 25, and 20 points in the last 3 games. He can get flammable from three-point range. Lafayette is abysmal. They are not great here. Army, if you look at them and you look at their record, you're not going to think they're very good. Army is only 3-9 on the season. Lafayette, folks, is 1-12. I think Army is playing well lately. I think they have finally got things right. Again, new coach Kevin Kuwick took a while to adjust, but Scovins is that good, and I think he should be able to cover here. Wouldn't mind a money line play on Army as well. If you look at their metrics, you look at their season, you're going to say, oh, it's only 2.5 points. Yes, because I think Army can get the job done. I like Rutgers here on the road against Ohio State in this Big Ten matchup. Ohio State has been up and down this year. That was a weird game against West Virginia. A West Virginia game without Jesse Edwards inside. Very odd performance from them. And they have benefited Ohio State from teams only shooting 63% from the free throw line against them. That is top 10 worst in the country. So they're getting benefits, but they're not great against the spread. They battled against UCLA. That game was way too close. New Orleans had a big win. They seem to be very king of the little people here. And here comes Rutgers on the road. Didn't look great against Stonehill. Struggled against Mississippi State. But you know Steve Peichel is great in games here within the conference. Slow down, muck it up, good defense. Finally fully healthy here. They have finally have a list of full players coming in, including Mawat Mag, who is so important to that defense. Too many points here in Rutgers, taking them +9. This, to me, is a Colgate blow-up spot. Colgate coming off some really rough losses. They got destroyed against Iona. 3 straight losses. Illinois away, Iona away, Cornell away. But when they're home and they get within the Patriot League, they are very tough to beat against the spread. Loyola Maryland is horrific. Can't make free throws, turn the ball over a ton. Colgate always shoots well at home. This is a blow-up spot. This is a 15-plus point win for Colgate at home against Loyola Maryland. Only 2-11 on the year. They beat Brown away, Loyola Maryland, and they beat St. Mary's of Maryland, not even a Division I school. Everyone else they've struggled against. LaSalle away, Columbia away by 12. Missouri, they've just struggled constantly in away games. I don't think they get the job done here. I think Colgate runs away and hides. You know my love for Radford, a disciplined style. And I like Radford here, laying a point at home to High Point. Now, High Point has played very well. They played Bellarmine. They beat Bellarmine at home. They beat Canisius. They beat UNC Greensboro. They have played very well. So if you look at the record, High Point looks like they're doing very well, 11-4 under Allen Haas. But Radford is still, to me, the pride of the Big South. Staris Nichols still does a great job. They had a tough matchup against Clemson, a really good Clemson team. We'll get to that one in a minute. I like Radford laying a point here in the opener at home against High Point. I want to see High Point carry their non-conference success into the conference. I just don't see it, especially they're not going to pressure Radford. They're going to allow Radford to get into their offense. Radford controls pace at home. Very difficult to beat. You are not surprised at this one. We are laying the 2 points with Loyola Chicago on the road. Loyola Chicago has beaten us a couple times, but they still are not fantastic here as a team against the spread. A lot of turnovers, still not shooting threes well, allowing a lot from three-point range, not great from the free throw line. They're good on the defensive boards. They pummeled Central Michigan, which I think showed you just how bad Central Michigan is, because Central Michigan turned around and got pummeled at home by Buffalo. Terrible loss, but we have been successful with them. They've beaten us a couple times on last-second comebacks, like against Boston College and things like that, and they've played well. But on the road here, what have they done this year? They played at Tulsa, lost by 11, Tulsa covered. They played away at South Florida, lost by 13, South Florida covered. And now they're opening up the A-10 conference against St. Louis, a St. Louis team who is doing better, that shoots 37% from three-point range, and they shoot even better than that at home. A-10 opener, Travis Ford, Billikens laying the small number there. Also not surprised that we're laying Fordham on the road. I think you can figure this out, that we're sticking with our theme here because, again, This has been profitable. We were profitable last year, fading Hubert Davis in North Carolina. I don't trust Ergo. They did come back and beat Columbia, but they were struggling in that game. They have escaped a couple games that they probably should have lost. And any team like Fordham that shoots 65.3% from the free throw line is not a team you want to back to cover on the road. You know that. George Washington here, 11-2 on the season under Chris Caputo's done a great job. They're great defensively. They're top 13 in the country. They're great at defending the three. They're great at defending inside the arc. This line is small because Fordham is getting way too much respect. I love George Washington here, -3. Hey, Clemson, prove me wrong. You show me, Clemson, that you can win a big game here in the ACC. Clemson has looked fantastic this year, shooting the three. We talked about this with Frank Brank, and his models are fantastic at FTN. Talked about it here in our Discord, which you have to join. Clemson has looked great, 39% from three-point range, 56% from inside the arc. Grabbing boards, just fantastic. But I want to see you. You beat Pittsburgh away to start. That doesn't really mean a heck of a lot. Now let's go against Miami. Miami team that has struggled, got buried against Kentucky, got buried against Colorado on a neutral. But look at what they've done the last two games. 97-59 over Stonehill. I know Stonehill's not good, but they won by 40. 95-55 at home against North Florida. I know North Florida is not good, but they won by 40. They shoot 41% from three-point range. They lock you down and extend the arc. So Clemson's not going to be able to score from outside the arc, which is something that they've done to generate 35% of their points. They're top 70 in the country, Clemson, at generating points from outside the arc. And Miami is one of the best teams at defending the arc. I'll take Miami plus 1.5. You know I like it with 1.5. You know I like them on the money line. Let's get to some comments here before we continue on. The Bonnie's game, yeah, I don't have that up there, but we're getting to that. Yeah, UMass on the list. Yeah, Michael, I believe in Frank Martin. I believe in their defense. I believe in the better team at home to start conference play. I like UMass here. Finally got Duquesne. Trevor, it's amazing. 2 years, I could not get Duquesne right, either for or against them. Tonight, we're going to fade them again here. UMass hack, college basketball. Nick is in the house. Appreciate it. Love it here. Got so many other comments going here. Very excited. Yeah, Colby saying it's not the Racket anymore. It's Jersey Mike's Arena. They changed the name. Yes, I know. It is not the Racket. It is a shame, of course. Glad the comments are flowing, guys. Let's get back to the game here. You know, I've struggled with Villanova. I think Kyle Neptune's on the hot seat. I don't trust their consistency. They did have a nice job there when they went on the road, and they won at Creighton. So they beat UCLA at home in a massive comeback where they were losing. They beat Creighton away in a game that to me was more about Creighton's lack of defensive awareness. Gosh, the fact that they lost to Marquette when they were shooting that well is embarrassing. Creighton just lets teams get all the way to the basket, and they look good against DePaul. But now they're home here. They're 2-0, looking to go 3-0. I like this Xavier team under Sean Miller. They're great on offense. They're locking down on defense. They're very explosive. They're coming off a big 20-point win against Seton Hall. I like this Xavier team here. People are going to pick Villanova because Villanova's getting the ticket because of the experience. I think 8.5 is a little too much. We'll take Xavier here to keep it close. I am not quite sold on Kyle Neptune yet. I am not. They're great at the free throw line. I get that, but they are not great on offense other than that. And Villanova always plays at a slow pace. They're 314th in the country in adjusted tempo. So you're getting a slower pace game against Xavier, who can score, and you're giving me points. I will take it, no problem. I think UCLA turned a corner. I love the Bruins here, played very well, have finally gotten things right after struggling. They had the big win over Oregon State. They lost away to Oregon, but they battled in that game, and they did cover the 7.5. So they're 1-1. They're coming home against Stanford. You know, Stanford looked really good to start the year, was playing well, lost to Arkansas in 2 overtimes. Michigan game was close. They blew that. They're coming off a big win against Arizona. So to me, this is a sell high spot on Stanford. The big win at home against Arizona. Now they're going on the road here. They've only played on the road at San Diego State. They lost by 14. That is the only true road game that Stanford has played. I think they struggle here against UCLA. I think they get it right. I don't like Indiana, and I sure as heck don't like Indiana on the road. Nebraska at home is very good under Fred Hoiberg, who's been fantastic. They've won 4 straight games. They are great on defense. They allow 28% from three-point range, and they are top 20 of the country at defending inside the arc. And that is what Indiana has to have here because you know Indiana is struggling in the backcourt with no Xavier Johnson. So here you have a team that scores 60% of their points inside the arc. And oh, by the way, how many true road games has Indiana played this year? They have played one, and that was against rival Michigan, and they were losing, and they came all the way back. And I think that's more about Michigan's problems. This is a well-coached team under Fred Hoiberg. This is a good defensive team. This is an Indiana team that can't make free throws because they have decided to go this year with this Mike Woodson idea of we're going to have a million bigs. That's not going to work. Nebraska can get up and down the floor. They can make some shots from the outside, laying the points here with Nebraska. Don't like Northern Iowa. Don't like Northern Iowa only getting 2 points on the road here in this matchup in the Missouri Valley. They've played better of late. They beat Prairie View A&M, Alcorn State, Northern Illinois. They are 0-2 here in Northern Iowa in the Missouri Valley, so they're going to bring their best effort. But I like this Missouri State team. They are great at defending the arc. They only allow 27% from outside the arc, and that's where Northern Iowa has to hit some shots to stay close to in competition. Missouri State is great on the defensive boards under Dana Ford, so it's one and done. They're going to make life miserable for this Northern Iowa offense, and you've seen Northern Iowa. They get hot, and then once teams go on a run, they do not have the ability like a Virginia or St. Mary's to get back in the game. They're not built that way, so they have to control the pace. If they get down, they're not going to be able to come back. They're allowing teams to shoot 37.5% from outside the arc. Missouri State's going to eat that up tonight. We're going to take Missouri State laying 2.5. Do you have any other games, folks? Put them in the comments here. Let's see what we got. Anything else? St. Joe's versus Rhode Island. Here's the problem, James, with that game. That's that 5.5 number, which I hate. So you have a home team getting 5.5. I just don't like that one. That one makes me a little nervous. I'll take a look at it now and I'll pull it up. But that's the reason I stayed away. So we have St. Joe's, who's been fantastic. 10-3 under Billy Lang. Best team they've had. Big win, played Kentucky, lost in overtime, beat Nova, beat Princeton, beat those teams. That's that 5.5 number at Rhode Island. I just don't like it. I think there's better spots tonight. The pick, I guess, would be St. Joe's, so I'm fine with that as well. Yeah, we talked about Miami, Declan, Miami, and Clemson. We're going to go with Miami. Clemson looks great. They started great last year. They ended up being king of the little people. They do look good this year, but this is a veteran Miami team, well coached under Jim Larinaga, defends the three well, and have won each of their last 2 games by 40 points. I know it's been against inferior opponents, Stonehill and North Florida, but I'm not laying points with Miami at home against Clemson yet. I need to see it, and that's my goal here. Yeah, Longwood and Winthrop. You know, my first read on this one was Longwood. Even though they're on the road here in the Big South, they lost 2 in a row. It's very hard for me to see Griff Aldrich teams losing 3 in a row. So my lean here is Longwood, laying the small number against Winthrop. Winthrop here has really struggled. Their offense just isn't clicking as well, and they're not great on the defensive boards. So my lean there is Longwood. I may add that one in the bet tracker later. Definitely check it out as well. We talked about Providence. I can't figure out Providence. Here's the problem with Providence. Is Providence really good? Are they at the point with Kim English where they're covering these games? Because Seton Hall looked awfully feisty and played well against UConn. I feel like we could get good Seton Hall or bad Seton Hall tonight. So that one I just don't feel comfortable with, staying away from that one. I get it, and if I had to pick, I would probably go with Providence. But Shaheen Holloway, again, rallied the troops for a great win at home. Was that an outlier? It may have been. Just hard for me with Providence because they can get a little sloppy with the turnovers at home, and you never know. It's a very tough place to win. But that one I stayed away from, and I'm not very sure. That's it, guys. So there's our games. Put them up. They'll go in the tracker. Join us in the Discord. Remember, follow us here. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow again, 2 o'clock, and then joining you on Saturday at 10:30 for all those big games. College basketball is back. There is nothing better. Thank you so much for joining us here. Remember, Fever Tree, sparkling grapefruit juice. It keeps us. It's our elixir here, and it's our tradition. We're going to keep riding it here as we get these picks right. Mike Randle, CCO on X at Randle Rant. We will see you again tomorrow.